Welcome to Motor's 2021 tyre test. Here at Sydney Dragway, we're on the hunt for Australia's best performance tyre, and we have 6 tyres from across the market to put through a set of grueling challenges. To help us get through it, we have a fast car, fast driver and a fast pit crew, which we'll get to in a minute. But before then, hit the like and subscribe button and we'll get this thing underway. After COVID kept us locked inside during 2020, Australia's longest running and most trusted independent tyre test is back. We've gathered 6 patterns that represent 2 distinct groups of competitors this year. First, there are the household names, beginning with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. Hailing from France, the 4S is back to defend its win in 2019. But it won't be easy. The Japanese-made Yokohama Advanced Sport V105 has featured on some big-name performance cars as an OE tyre. And it's followed by the German-made Goodyear Eagle F1 Supersport, which wants to steal the win after finishing runner-up to the Michelin in 2019. Also produced in Germany are a set of Pirelli P0s that round out our contingent of premium rubber. Finally, the GT Radial Sport Active and Hi-Fi Challenger HF805 DSRT are hoping to cause an upset as the field's budget options. Of course, it takes more than just tyres to run one of these tests. You need a car, and a fast one at that. The Mercedes-AMG A45S is a turbo all-wheel drive terror with punchy diffs and adaptive suspension. It also runs the increasingly common wheel size of 19 inches, helping it stand up as the perfect tool to dissect our field. Piloting the AMG will be motorsport veteran Warren Luff. Lending his services to Motor for more than a decade as the gun driver on our mega tests, the 2-time Sandown 500 winner is our go-to when we need bankable data based on consistent on-limit driving. He'll call Sydney Dragway's enormous car park home for the day as he puts our 6 contenders through the ringer. Meanwhile, the crew from Tyre Right will be on the rattle guns, ensuring tyre changes go as smoothly as possible and to schedule, since they are the backbone of our logistics. Before we get away though, all tyres are set to the recommended placard pressures, while our satellite-based timing equipment is plugged in, ready to record the invaluable data we will also verify against the trusty pen and clipboard. And with that all out of the way, let's begin. The slalom remains the cornerstone of any good tyre test, putting mid-corner stability and traction under the spotlight. It's the first of 5 disciplines designed for tyre torture, including a dry braking, lateral G, Motorkana, and wet braking test. For the slalom, Luffy passes the first cone at 40 km an hour and then weaves through the rest as fast as possible until the finish line. He repeats this 5 times before we delete the best and worst runs and average the remaining 3 to avoid any anomalies. Although we run each tyre through the complete course in a predetermined order, the first run is on the tyres already fitted to the AMG. That's because they are our control set, which we test throughout the day to reveal if a particular runtime suits one tyre over another. If there is an unfair advantage, we feed the control results into a linear regression formula, and that helps us even out the playing field. In this instance, the Goodyear sliced the slalom faster than any other tyre, pipping the Michelin by 0.03 seconds on average. Down the order, there was a surprise after the GT Radial beat the Pirelli P0 to 4th place, leaving the Hi-Fi Challenger in last. After the slalom, each tyre moves on to the dry emergency braking test. The test involves Luffy entering a braking zone at 110 km an hour before hitting the brakes with maximum pressure. This triggers the AMG's anti-lock braking system, forcing its computers to modulate braking power to match the grip available. We then measure the distance it takes for the AMG to completely stop from 100 km an hour on each tyre, repeating this 3 times to then get an average. Ultimately, the shorter stopper was the Goodyear, and again, there was close to nothing between it and the Michelin, which stopped only 10 centimetres further on average. Our worst performer was this time the GT Radial, after it recorded an average distance 5 metres longer than the winning Goodyear. In an emergency, 5 metres could spell the difference between meeting or avoiding disaster, whether on the public road or at a racetrack. That's why it's sobering to see the results of our wet braking test, which mimics the procedure of the dry run but lowers the entry speed to 90 km an hour and is performed on a surface soaked by hoses. The stopping distance until rest is measured from 80 km an hour instead. But that doesn't change the Goodyear dominating again. This time, however, it wins more convincingly, putting a metre between it and the second place Yokohama. Again, the last place GT Radial lagged behind the top spot by a distance of 5 metres, and that's more than a car's length. Our next test is the Motorkana, which is probably one that feels most familiar to Luffy. That's because after we lay out an army of cones to create a mini racetrack, it's where traction, lateral grip, and braking performance combine for a good lap. But they are only some of the ingredients needed to be quick on a hot lap, since feedback and feel count for just as much. So Luffy begins with a flying start over the start-finish line, and we record the elapsed time after 3 laps. In the end, it was the Michelin that delivered the most convincing performance on the stopwatch, with the Goodyear finally dropping to second after Luffy revealed it suffered from some understeer. Otherwise, it was a predictable finishing order, with the GT Radial taking bottom spot and the Yokohama standing up as the best of the rest. Afterwards, we finally tackled the lateral G test. It's designed to reveal how hard a tyre can grip to the road, full stop. And the method involves Luffy choosing a double right-hander from the Motorkana. He then approaches this section slowly before accelerating as hard as possible through the bend, pushing each tyre to their limits as they resist centrifugal forces. The test is repeated 3 times in both directions to give us a broad set of data, which we can refine by deleting the best and worst results and averaging the remaining 4. The Michelin's big shoulder blocks proved their worth come crunch time, as the Pilot Sport 4S beat the Goodyear to first spot after logging results that average 0.01 G higher. The Hi-Fly surprised as well after registering the 3rd highest average G and placing behind the Goodyear, pushing the Yokohama into 4th. So after all is said and done, it was clear from the beginning this year's event would always be a close battle between 3 heavyweights, the Goodyear, Michelin and Yokohama. They shared the top 3 places in almost every discipline, but when you tally the scores, the Goodyear occupied top spot more than anyone else. And when it wasn't winning, it was a close second. That gave the Goodyear the lowest average placing, crowning it champion ahead of the Michelin in 2nd place. As for the rest of the field, they placed accordingly, with the Yokohama 3rd, the Pirelli 4th, and the Hi-Fly beating the GT Radial to 5th. The Goodyear takes home a deserving win after a dominating performance against this year's strong field. So that's it, another motor tyre test run and won. What did you think? Let us know in the comments what tyre you'd take home, what your favourite performance tyre is, and if you want to read the full feature, hit the button up here.